we started working really closely with folks that are selling Medicare. So generally speaking, health and life agents.
I think the only one point that I would probably add to this is us figuring out and co-building with a lot of our customers and the roadmap being defined by their daily problems kind of gives us the headway to go solve an actual pain point and not build fancy features that less people use. A lot of our customers are very unique to us where they want to go ahead and have a bunch of features built. They're pretty patient and understand. Hi, I'm Ram Prasad, working on as a partner for building this product called InsureTrek.
Hi, I'm Kyle Hess. I'm the head of product for InsureTrek.
Across the Medicare industry or insurance industry as a whole, there's a lot of problems and a lot of opportunity to go create products or like tools, right? Why exactly licensing and contracting? And what is the impact of one small mistake by an ops manager going to cost for the company or the agency?
Yeah, there's a couple of very obvious impacts when licensing falls through. And I think why we're building InsureTrek and why we feel like it's so important is there's just enough differences with basically every state that having someone who's just full-time thinking about, hey, what are the weird things about getting licensed in Texas versus getting licensed in Wyoming or whatever it may be, like we provide, I think, a lot of value in InsureTrek by handling that for people. And so I think that's one piece, and why we've decided to build this thing is because there's just a lot of loose ends and there's a lot of things that can slip through the crack. And so that's why it makes sense to have this system that is like really, really smart about all of these different situations. And I think that's been really helpful for people. Licensing is something that feels like it should be straightforward, but when it breaks, it ruins a lot. You know, if you let your resident license expire, the cascading effects of your non-resident licenses then saying no longer being eligible because you don't have a valid resident, the cascading effect of all of your carrier appointments expiring, it just frankly means that really, really quickly you're getting to a point to where you can't reach out to customers and you can't actively sell. And undoing those things and getting yourself reinstated and reappointed can be a really cumbersome process. And so it is way better to have a system that just makes sure that the thing doesn't expire, you're always staying active, because it can lead to a real loss in the opportunity for revenue when you're selling to folks. Because if your resident license expires or if your non-resident license expires in a state, really, really quickly, the carriers and the states will shut you down to where you can't sell, and especially certain times of the year. So many of our customers are in Medicare. And so, you know, Q4 AEP is a huge deal. If you've got licenses that are expiring in AEP, you want to get those, make sure that those things are on autopilot, because if you don't, you know, it's a big opportunity that could be lost there.
Okay. So with respect to InsureTrek licensing itself, there are a few companies or agencies who would want to go ahead and sponsor the licenses for their agents. And few of them are working more on the contractor basis, where I would want my agents to go ahead and get their licenses procured, but I still want to be able to manage so that I can route my telephony system to be able to like route calls to them. So how does InsureTrek help in that space?
That's been really fun to think about. There are so many different styles of agencies and different business models that people follow. We work with a ton of kind of more traditional call centers to where everyone's an LOA agent. Those people tend to have some sort of an ops manager that's handling those licenses, but they're getting licensed in 40, 50 states for each producer. So like that's one version of complexity. The other kind of opposite of that is the example you're talking about, to where I might be an FMO, or I might be a smaller shop where all of my agents are just contractors. And so I still want a platform to make sure that they're not letting things slip through the cracks. But generally speaking, I want them to cover their cost of their licenses. And so with InsureTrek, you can do both. And so for every single producer in InsureTrek, you can decide who's paying for their licenses. You can also decide whether I'm paying for maybe initials, but they're going to cover renewals, or, you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can configure that. So yeah, it's been fun to try to figure out all of the different business models for agencies and make sure that InsureTrek does a good job of supporting those different flows equally as well.
With respect to InsureTrek becoming a multi-industry or like multi-domain licensing platform, what kind of complications are we expecting?